cheese. So it's made a big
The verdict finally came down in Chapel Hill. And the consensus is the Tar Heels skated.
And two top 10 teams facing off tonight. Cal, of course, and Wazoo getting ready to go. But the questions of fire and the air quality, we'll talk to Molly McGrath, who is on this game. They loom.
And it's the Red River rivalry at the Cotton Bowl. Texas.
The weekend's full of surprises, from big upsets to rivalry.
Paul.
The Finebaum show, Paul's on the roll. If he don't get the best of me, call Paul.
Can I get an amen from you?
He'll make sense of it all.
Hey, at least we're rational.
Yeah, call Paul.
Please don't tell my wife what's going on here in the afternoon.
We've got a live shot of Chapel Hill, North Carolina, where they are celebrating at the University of North Carolina. The leaves are starting to change, and so is the mood, because many thought this was going to be doomsday for the Tar Heels. Instead, it didn't happen. JMU, that is the site of College Game Day. For the second time in 3 years, Game Day goes to James Madison.
They're taking on Villanova, Paul.
And we are live in Athens, Georgia, where the crowd is getting ready. Missouri is here tomorrow night, but Laura, that is not what excites Georgia fans. The fact that they are in the top 4 in the country is what it's all about.
Georgia fans have been waiting for this moment all season long, and it feels like it's been something that maybe even Kirby Smart in this program didn't quite expect this early on during his tenure. But so interesting that at this point, halfway through the season, he is an obvious candidate for Coach of the Year. Obviously has to continue it on, but I think what he's done so far has been really impressive. And now, here we are. They're a top 4 team.
No doubt. Those are some of the stories that we are following here on a little bit of an overcast Friday afternoon. But the big story in sports today comes from the Tar Heel State, the defending champions. We're concerned. It has been an endless investigation into UNC, arguably the most storied basketball program in the country. And the word is that the Tar Heels will avoid major sanctions. The NCAA said it could not conclude academic violations took place. Greg Sankey, he is the chairman of the Committee on Infractions. He said while student-athletes likely benefited from the so-called paper courses offered by North Carolina, the information available in the record did not establish that the courses were solely created, offered, and maintained as an orchestrated effort to benefit student-athletes. The NCAA defers to its member schools to determine whether academic fraud occurred, and ultimately the panel is bound to making decisions within the rules set by the membership. And look who is in Chapel Hill, Ryan McGee. And Ryan, it's such a cliche question to ask what the mood is at a place that could have gotten brought to its knees. So I'm just guessing here that the mood's pretty good.
Ryan, no doubt the NCAA put a lot of time, a lot of money into this. What does this mean for the NCAA that North Carolina is sitting here with no sanctions?
Okay, Ryan. For some reason, we are hearing you, but I don't know.
I was reading his lips, though. Great information from Ryan.
Here's what I don't understand, Laura. Before we get to the next subject, how the NCAA can spend all this time looking into something that everyone knows took place and come up with, on paper, what is such a bogus decision. I mean, the NCAA is basically saying, if you want to conduct academic fraud, do it because we can't catch you. And I think this decision today is essentially the end of the NCAA's effectiveness, and it really has no teeth. And if you're out there waiting to have your turn, you might want to feel pretty good about it, but when it comes to academic fraud, the NCAA might as well just say, do whatever you want.
Well, Paul, at this point, I think we've seen such inconsistency, too, with the NCAA. And when you're trying to think about what type of standards are going to be put into place, and I think we can all agree something needs to change in college basketball recruiting and maybe recruiting in general in all sports. This was an opportunity to make a statement there and to say that you couldn't come to any conclusive evidence that any of this happened. That's not good enough.
Laura, this is a committee hiding behind bylaws. It's a very legalese response, basically saying we know they did it, but if you adhere to what we have as our standards, we can't prove it because we don't have the ability to govern the people that employ us to run the college athletics. And it could not have come at a worse time when you consider what is going on in the sport of college basketball with the federal indictments. It's just, North Carolina fans can celebrate to their heart content. And Ryan there saying, oh, well, it's a mixed bag. No, it's not a mixed bag. North Carolina got away with it today. It's as pure and simple as that. Let's get you out to a big Pac-12 game. They like to play late at night, and this is what is happening. Washington State versus Cal. Washington State 2 weeks ago, Laura, knocked off Southern Cal on a Friday night, and the FBI seems to like their chances tonight.
I think everybody likes Mike Leach, so there you got that too. Cal, of course, a team, Paul, that beat Ole Miss from the SEC, but not a whole lot of chance, according to FPI, given to Cal. So much, though, really about the wildfires going on in this area of the country. Molly McGrath is on the call there. She is joining us with more information.
This view is from the top of California Memorial Stadium as smoke hovers over the Bay Area as wildfires continue to ravage Northern California. Normally, behind me, you'd be able to see the San Francisco skyline and Alcatraz in the Bay, but instead, it is all just a smoky haze. And of course, air quality is a concern ahead of Cal's Friday night game against Washington State. Now, I spoke to a Pac-12 official who told me they're working closely with both schools to monitor the situation, and they'll be using the NCAA's Air Quality Index to determine whether or not it will be safe to play. Now, the index goes from 0 to 200 or above, 0 being safe, non-polluted air, and then anything above 200 would be deemed unsafe. As of Thursday morning, the AQI was at 155, but wind direction can change everything. And I have to admit, as I'm standing here doing this report, I'm a little short of breath, and there are ashes falling from the sky. So this is definitely going to be a factor in this game. But Cal is adamant that they're not going to reschedule this game till later in the weekend. Instead, they're going to treat this like a lightning delay. They're going to clear the field of play until conditions are safe. And with a 10:30 p.m. Eastern kickoff, it could be a late night here in Berkeley. But of course, safety is the biggest concern.
We're joined by Molly McGrath. Molly, let me go back to something you said in the report. This game is not going to be rescheduled. They're going to treat it as a lightning delay. So how will this play out depending on what the conditions are at kickoff?
Right. I think that they're going to be working closely with doctors that are gauging the air quality, and they're going to see what it is at kickoff time. And from there, like a lightning delay, they'll clear the field of play. They'll take the players and all the staff off of the field, and they'll just delay the game until air quality improves. And one thing about this, air quality changes with the winds, right? So winds coming in can change it for the worse or for the better. And I found the past 2 nights here, the air quality has improved greatly at night. With the cool winds coming from the ocean and from the bay, the air quality improves. You can't smell as much of the smoke, so that is encouraging. But one thing that is concerning, I've been, refreshing the Environmental Protection Agency's air quality information website all morning. It's like I'm almost a meteorologist now at this point. I've been refreshing it all morning, and it went from code level orange, which is slightly unhealthy, to now it's red. It's unhealthy. It's around a 158, and there's a large purple cloud, and this purple cloud has a lot of smoke and air that ranges from 150 to 200 API, which would be unhealthy, and it's slowly moving towards Cal. So at some point during this day, we could see conditions worsen, and we could see things going, downhill a little in terms of the air quality. It's just a matter of whether or not it clears up at night. So I think at that point, if this does happen around kickoff, we'll just be waiting for the game to start.
Yeah, Molly, obviously this football game is important, and people are talking about that, but 31 dead so far, hundreds more missing from these wildfires. What have the coaches and players said just about everything that's going on in this area of the country?
Yeah, so I'm from Northern California, and I can speak for everyone here that it has impacted everyone from this area in some form or fashion. I know that it has affected Cal. They have players who have been affected with families from the Santa Rosa area, which is completely just leveled now from the wildfires. So it's something that's very close to their hearts, and they've been affected by it. I've been affected by it. My family members have had to evacuate. The entire Bay Area, I think, is very solemn and heartbroken by this, and it doesn't help that there is a literal gray cloud over the entire city, and the air quality is poor. So it's reminding everyone of the horrible things that are happening up north. So it's definitely somber. They want to be able to play, and as the coaches at Cal said, it would be a nice respite from all of the negatives going on, and it would be a good opportunity for their players to be able to move on from this and maybe forget about some of those terrible things that have happened to their families and friends for a couple hours so they can just play football and do something they love. It's just a matter of whether or not it's safe.
Molly, not to interrupt, but I agree with what you said, and sports can be healing, but I'm listening to you, and I'm watching this as the whole country is, and I can't for the life of me understand why they're going to even attempt to play a football game there. I know I've already asked you this, but help me understand this better, why they're even going to put this many people at risk with all the security people, with all the law enforcement people that are needed to stage a football game.
Yeah, Paul, that's a good point. It's a tough thing to answer. I think they are just hoping for the best, and they're hoping that conditions get better at nighttime, which they have the past couple days. So I think they're basically just hoping for the best, and they're preparing for the worst. I agree with you in some of that, and especially the fact that a ton of schools in the Bay Area are being closed down today. They're telling people not even to go outside. So it'll be interesting to see if a football game can be played. I don't want to give too much on it because, I know the schools are in a difficult position, and the Pac-12 is in a difficult position. I spoke to a member of the Pac-12, a Pac-12 official, earlier this morning, and basically the decision will be up to the schools and whether or not they feel comfortable, and then they'll go to the league with their decision, and then they'll make a group decision from there. But the schools are the ones working with the doctors and the air quality specialists to deem whether or not it's going to be safe to play.
Molly McGrath, many thanks. Be well and be safe, Molly.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Laura, I can't. Molly, I think, is doing her best to try to give both sides of the story, but what's the point?
It's hard to imagine what the point is. And I think, Paul, when you see these types of things happen that are natural disasters, a lot of times games will be moved and things will change. If people have lost their lives, there are hundreds of people missing. And we saw a photo of Molly. She had a mask on. Essentially, you have to protect yourself against this type of air quality. It is dangerous for people. And I think her point about the fact that they have closed down schools and they are advising people to not go outside, but then we're going to play a football game.
Well, Laura, it's preposterous. If you can't go outside, if you can't do a live report without wearing something over your ears and mouth, you're going to play college. I mean, and listen, I'm the last person in America to want to sell football short. I mean, this is what we do and we love, and this is October, but this game should not be played.
Okay, and then they're going to treat it like a lightning delay, which was great information from Molly on that. They treat it like a lightning delay, and then that means people are just waiting around until they decide that the air quality is good enough to play it?
We always hear this. We heard it recently with the hurricane, and it's not the decision during the game that is so critical. It's all the support people that have to be at the stadium instead of being in more critical places, helping others or just being on call in case it gets worse.
We've seen that so many times with hurricanes and natural disasters like that. You have to have those people allocated, as you said, to the areas where they can be most useful. A football game is not essential to life.
It really isn't. Although you could probably have a hard time convincing a lot of people.
Well, you'd have a hard time convincing us of that.
No, you couldn't.
But still.
But I sat there and listened to her, and I know what she was trying to say. But I mean, here's a reporter covering a football game who has her own issues, like being concerned about her health and her loved ones. It's just ridiculous. Seems like we're on that track today. A lot of ridiculous stories.
We're just ridiculous right off the top here. And
we're supposed to bring joy to the world.
We're not making a lot of sense, but I don't blame us. It's because none of this makes sense. Clemson, though, taking on Syracuse, Paul, and this is the second-ranked team in the country. This makes sense. This is an opportunity for Clemson to make a big statement against a talented Syracuse team. Seeing, of course, Kelly Bryant and what he is able to do. They are very comfortable on the road, Paul. I think that's the mark, truly, of a talented team and a team that belongs in the playoff conversation. What can they do on the road? And they have been successful on the road. Clemson has huge part of that. Kelly Bryant picking up right where Deshaun Watson left off.
This is a team that's finding a new identity without Deshaun Watson.
It's so rare you lose a player the caliber of Deshaun Watson, and there's virtually no drop-off. That's how good Kelly Bryant's been.
Bryant takes a shotgun snap, going to run it himself. Dive for the end zone, touchdown.
He's showing you he can make all the throws. He's showing you his ability. What a catch.
And what a throw.
Make that money pile up, make it pile up higher. Make that money pile up, baby, miles higher.
He's played really well, so he's passed the test.
Yeah.
With the Kelly Bryant show.
Bryant keeping it all the way.
Kelly Bryant was ultra efficient. Kelly Bryant, he's a slippery runner, hard to bring down. He's been electric.
And Mac Brown is on the scene getting ready to do the call for this game on ESPN, Syracuse and Clemson, 7 p.m. Coach, always great to visit with you. So what should we be looking forward to tonight, and does Clemson have anything to worry about?
Clemson has been so good on the road, Paul. Laura just mentioned that, and that it's the confidence they're playing with. They play so many people, and believe this or not, this isn't good news for teams in the future. They only brought 6 seniors tonight, 27 juniors. So it is really a young football team. And Dabo Swinney has become one of the masters of motivation because he's got this team with a chip on their shoulder. Because he said, we haven't played our best game, and everybody's still talking about Deshaun Watson and Gallman and Mike Williams and all these guys last year. Nobody knows who you all are. Don't even talk about you. And he's practicing at a championship level because he's talking about national championship standards. And like in Alabama, their team is so good right now that they're practicing against better players every day in practice than they play against on most Saturdays. So, as Dabo said last night, Clemson doesn't want to lose this game. And that would probably happen before Syracuse would win it. Now, Syracuse has got the good quarterback in Eric Dungy. They've got 2 of the top receivers in the country, the top one with Ishmael with 56 catches. They can move the ball. They try to get 100 plays a game. But we know that Clemson defense has been really tough.
Mac, one thing that has been one of my favorite things to find out this week is that Dabo Swinney plans to go back to Alabama on Saturday because he's playing in a Friday game. Did he talk about going back to Alabama and what type of reception he expects to have there?
Well, Laura, I've learned from you and Paul. I made him talk about it. I asked him. And, of course, we all love Coach Stallings, and Coach Stallings is there with his team A lot of the coaches in the South worry about playing Friday night games because they don't want to hurt the high school coaches' attendance and take away from their game. But this was the perfect scenario for Dabo because he can coach the game tonight. He can go home. He can go down for the introduction with his team, the Coach Stallings team in Tuscaloosa for the game. And then he can hop on the plane and get out. In fact, he's moving into a new house Saturday, so I think that probably made it even more exciting that he's not going to be around. And his sweet bride's going to have to move into the house. But he did say he called Coach Saban. He said, Nick, I just want you to be aware. I'm coming back. I'm going to be on the field before the game. And he said Nick was great. He said, welcome back. And he said Nick's even sent in a car to pick him up at the airport.
Coach, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure.
Great.
I just
Thank you, guys.
I just wish I had heard that before I moved into a house recently with my wife.
Yeah, you did all the heavy lifting on that, right? I could just see you lugging boxes up the stairs.
As the movers were coming, I said, hey, I've got to go to work. Speaking of going to work, we have to take a break before we come back. Tommy Tuberville will be joining us shortly, and we'll talk to him and continue a look ahead on the college football weekend. We are live at the University of Georgia.